Good afternoon and welcome to my channel. I'm Sharon and you're through to Be Divine Vintage. So good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever it may be in the world where you are. Welcome to all those just dropping in to see me today. To all of you who are thinking of subscribing, go on, push that button. And to all my subscribers, well, I've got a tome to show you today. Let's start off with some measurements. So it's 8 inches by 10.5, and this is a beastie by 4 inches. Let me just show you the dangle on the side now. The fabric, this sari silk, is all hand dyed by myself, and I've used colours throughout the journal. You'll see I wanted my journal to look like, there was an advert on TV years ago advertising Cadbury's Flake, and the lady was watercolour painting, and the rain started falling, big blobs of rain on her page, and so the watercolours became really washed out, and I always love that advert. So that's what I've tried to do here, some very pale pastels. Now, I've started about a year or so ago mudlarking with Olivia, my daughter, and so on here we've got some real finds that we found in the water. Let's have a look. This one is a shell, obviously, and here we've got, they're not from the water, but they are vintage beads, glass beads, and some vintage chain. That's that one. This one is again vintage beads with vintage chain, and this is a piece of tile that was found on Blitz Beach, which is just near Liverpool, and it's where after the Second World War some of the city of Liverpool that had been destroyed in the Blitz was put onto this particular beach. It's called Blitz Beach. So that's just a little tiny piece of pottery from there. We've got a oyster shell with vintage beads, and I've this wire that I've wound around. This is wire that we found while I've been mudlarking, old wire that I've wound around to make the hanger from there. We've got this head, which isn't a real doll's head and shoulders, but it's moulded off one that we found mudlarking. We've got a piece of, I think it's like pottery that from the 1700s. I think it's featherware. On here we've got a piece of clay pipe stem, so that could be anything from the 1400s right up to the early 1900s. Well, sooner than the 1400s, 1300s up to the 1900s. And on there is this doll's plate that I found in a child's Dolly's tea set plate that I found up in the Lake District. It was broken there, so I've rebuilt it and just painted it in the gold, the Japanese style, again with vintage beads. And there's just a little hagstone there that was found on the beach. We've got a vintage thimble and again a vintage bead. Now you can, there's know what, this one doesn't come off easily without sort of breaking that open, but to write in the journal you can just lift that up. So we've got some vintage silk on the front of the journal. The back is from a 1935 magazine I had of the water babies that I printed on fabric. So I've used this book all the way through. It's sort of a book novelette, what they called. It's not a magazine, it's like a book magazine type thing. There again it says water babies. This is vintage, again this is the same, the watermarked silk. And then this isn't vintage, this is modern lace just down there. So let's open up and start from the beginning. There is loads and loads and loads of real ephemera in here. Just let me see how many. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 5 signatures, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, that's 12, 24 times 5, 120 sides plus to write on, because there's a lot of like tippings and things in here. Loads of original ephemera. So at the front here, I've put in this is original ephemera. They are cigarette cards of wildflowers. This is Tim Holtz. There's a little vintage handkerchief which I thought was the same colours as I'm using throughout the journal. There's a book which I believe is from the Edwardian era, the little boy there. And then this is again from the Edwardian, All Night Long their nets through for the fish in the twinkling form. It just reminded me of Dreaming, you know, with the Sandman. So the Sandman is what I've linked there to the water babies, and perhaps these are the water babies, and that is a big journaling card. So that is just in the front of this journal there. This is part of the original magazine novelette that I've took inspiration from, and these are vintage fabrics, and every single page is reinforced with vintage fabric. So here we've got a vintage card which opens up. Now I'm not going to show you absolutely everything in here. We've got vintage jewellery. I think this will come back a little bit. We've got vintage jewellery down there with this paper that's about 150 years old. We have got collage. We've got gesso on these pages so you can write on them. And there is a little Victorian style card that's printed on fabric, so you can write on that because it's gessoed on the back. On this side here is a little tip-in, and on here we've got a journaling card in one of these library style pockets with some collage on. And inside there we've got an original birthday card. I'm not sure when it's from, but it's one of the old kings, pre-Elizabeth II, and that's in there, original. It's from my own stash. And in here excuse me, we've got a receipt from the Grand Hotel from 1954. That's some original ephemera just tucked into there. So on this page here, you can see we have got this is an advertising card. I know it's torn there, but that's how it came. That's just age. And with that is a little card. I think it's a calling card, but it's got a picture of a little girl on the front there. Bridget Fash. So those are just tucked in there. That is Victorian. A little bit of collage on here with some flowers. And this is paper, again, about 150 years old. And it's like, well, it is a blotting paper out of a order book, ledger book. Got some collage, an old stamp, again, gesso. Here, this lifts up. And in here, we've got a record keeper book, and it what you would have stored credit cards at Discover America by car. So I'm assuming you would have had that. South Carolina, I'm assuming you would have had that in your car. And here we've got a little ticket. We've got another pocket here. There may be pockets in here that I'm not even beginning to open up because I may have even forgotten that they're there, because there are quite a few hidden pockets and things. We've got another birthday card. We've got a journaling card, a vintage journaling card. I've been not journaling card, they are artist trading cards, and I've got quite a few of these, so I've actually put some of these in my shop. I like that one because it had the fish on the front. Collage, and then this little pin here with this little Victorian girl. Journaling space. Then here is a tip in. We've got a pocket with this collaged journaling card that just fits into there. Oops. I've tried to stick with the turquoises, the pinks, the yellows. Here we've got a heart-shaped pocket, and in there we've got some handmade paper with some collaging over the top and some stitching, and that's a journaling card, and that's been embossed. That sits in there, and behind there we've got a report card from a Leicestershire public school. Got a little dog. So you can see there's lots going on in here. I've put some page tabs on. These are using vintage cards there. Here we've got a tip in, and it's some pages made out of a 1930s order book. So we've got I'm trying not to say so, but I keep saying it. That's a little notebook inside a matchbook. There is a video, if you look back, on how to make those. That's just tucked into there. There's a antique calling card. Inside is journaling space and another one of those water related artist trading cards. On this page is yet another postcard that just sits in there. Again, some collage work. A little magic can take you a long way there, printed onto fabric, gesso, stamping. Here we've got a double page spread from the Water Babies, and I didn't want to cover that up, so some of the big spreads I have left them open. We've got a journaling card tucked into this little 4 envelope pocket with some little tiny 4 envelopes on there. A journaling page with some collage napkin. Here is a altered playing card, and that has got this lovely dangle on with this shell. And in the playing card is a tiny altered playing card, pretty, and Tim Holtz ephemera. Yeah, some of these I thought were just too nice to cover. Lace down the side, a double tier of lace there. In here, we've got a tip in. This is a handmade paper envelope. I just thought the colours were just superb for the theme of the Water Babies. And in there we have got a little bag, and in there is some fabric, some stamped fabric. And we've got a journaling card on the opposite side. Oh no, we haven't. We've got journaling space. We've got an altered envelope. There's from the front of the book, the Water Babies book. And in here is an envelope with a letter, handwritten letter inside. And that just sits in there. On to the next page. One of these, I got this inspiration from Sigita. So it's tea-dyed fabric, calico that I've blanket stitched around. There's a vintage button. There's another little tag. There's some layers there, a little butterfly, another button, and more journaling space and some flowers. In this little pocket here, we've got a Victorian postcard. It's a photograph, but in those days they used to have them put onto postcards, didn't they? This is made out of some ledger, and this turns over here, and there's a journaling card in some vintage music score. Another napkin, gesso, Another heart-shaped pocket, lots of journaling space. Postcard. And then this is Tim Holtz, and it's the back of cabinet card reproduction. So I thought I'd leave that because you might want to put your own photograph on there. I will put the link to this journal in my Etsy down below in the description. Here we've got another page. We've got a library card there that's made to look vintage, and I think it could well be vintage actually. And again, another altered playing card, one of those little shells and some little pieces. That's a Tim Holtz. That's an authentic, is it? No, that's a Tim Holtz, but that is an altered playing card that I've altered. So there's quite a little bit of mixed media in here as well. I've got some vellum and some of the ledger paper. Again, we've got a flower that I made here out of strands of cotton. I was just having a drink. I've had a terrible cough and sore throat this last week. The sore throat's gone, but the tickly's just still there. Got another sort of tip in here, and in here this lovely pocket, which is beautifully, if I say so myself, collaged. And in there we've got this journaling card, which is embossed, you see, with these shells and starfish and things. Oh, I have got a lovely little announcement to tell you as well. I am a nana now. Yes, it's finally happened. It seems like she's been pregnant such a long time, but these weeks have just flown so quickly. There's no pictures of my little granddaughter, my first grandchild, first baby in our family. It's about number 7 or 8 in Jessica's husband's. So she's got a little girl, £6.3, delivered by caesarean section, and she's called Nova Elizabeth. So what a lovely name. There's no pictures. She's not made a social media presence yet. I hope it stays that way, but you don't know this day and age, do you? It seems to be the way to go. Yeah, so Nana, Nova Elizabeth. Collage across the bottom. So I did I can't remember what they're called. My mind's so full of Nova at the minute. So I got a strip of paper, and I put all little pieces of paper and things on it and laid them all up. And I put some gilding on, some vintage sellotape. So a lot of this is vintage. These few things are Tim Holtz. Snippet roll, that's what it's called. Right, more journaling space. Tell you, I think mine's gone even more since I've become a nana. And that's what one daughter's brought me home some washing from my other daughter. So you might ask why daughter number 2 hasn't done the washing. And that's because she lives here and she's staying at her boyfriend's this weekend. James is busy, that's Jessica's husband, with my granddaughter and Jessica. So I said I would do the washing. So we've got a Tim Holtz there, another embellished, collaged piece of paper there with again another postcard and another beautiful little matchbook in there as well. Yeah, so it's been all exciting. So last Saturday night around this time I rushed to hospital with my mum with an asthma attack where they discovered atrial fibrillation. Thank goodness we'd gone in. So I spent the first few days with my mum. Then I found out Jessica was having a baby on Friday. So then I hardly slept because I was thinking about Jessica. Then Jessica's had a baby. And all of a sudden it's Saturday evening. And relax. So, yeah, it's been a very eventful week. Right, here we go. So this is a reproduction cabinet card. So this is the Tim Holtz. Is it? Is it? Do you know, I can't tell. I must say so myself. No, this is an original. This is an original from Manchester. Manchester, this. It's not Tim Holtz because his tend to be from America. I'm going to say I'm getting quite good at doing cabinet cards now, and I can't tell whether they're real or not. That is early Victorian. She's in a little sailor. It could be a boy, actually. The fact that it's all holding flowers tells me it could be a girl. However, little boys did wear sailor suits with skirts into the Victorian era. So again, we've got 3 stacked envelopes, and these are just 4 envelopes. Yeah, did you know that little boys wore sailor suits? Got a short hair. I can't see any long hair. That's what makes me think it's a little boy. More of this, water babies, and the water babies writing. I thought that was really nice. Now here we have got a glassine bag, and in there I've put a tag which I've just stitched around, coffee dyed, a luggage label stitched around, and another repair tag that's in there. This I think is from Germany, this. Yeah, it is. That was on something I bought in Germany. This is an envelope, and in there we have got some cards for journaling cards, which I have inked to give the impression of age. Got some flowers on there, gesso to write on. This page look excuse me, looked like an envelope. It isn't an envelope, but that's why I wanted to put an envelope there. This is out of a Victorian, so it's about 150-year-old book, this. Got some muslin behind there. This is a pocket at the bottom. So this is from the album of, this is the cover from the wildflowers. I've stitched around it. And every now and again in the book you've seen the wildflower cards. They're in the book. Here's the little altered playing card again with the little shell. I got these shells in America when I went January 25 with my girls to Disney and had an amazing time. So I've got another altered little playing card there, vintage playing card, and a couple of the Tim Holtz. I mean, we absolutely love Disney, and we're so excited now that Jess has had a little girl because we'll be going again and we can dress her up in all those beautiful outfits. I know I've still got Jessica's Alice in Wonderland outfit here, which is vintage. I mean, it is in my Etsy shop. However, that might be being withdrawn and that might have to become Nova's. So we've got a lovely, this is off a card with a butterfly, and I've sat one of the Tim Holtz little people on there. And then here is a vintage Royal Agricultural Show postcard. And again, this is some of my hand dyed. I'll put a link below to these hand dyed. If I forget to put it, if you just say to me, where's the link for the hand dyed sari silk? Stamping, gesso. This is a Victorian, from a Victorian scrapbook. That is vintage lace. So on this side, this is out of off a sari, but I just thought its colours lent itself to the beach. Again, hand-dyed papers. We've got handmade envelope here, which is fixed on with 2. When I say handmade, it's fabric. It's vintage, vintage baby's nightie actually, and vintage lace. There's an oracle card in there, so I'm not going to take that out, because whoever purchases that oracle will be meant for them. And I've just got a little layer of vintage laces and things there, a little snippet flower. Here we've got more of the ledger, more of the napkin. Those are from Scandinavia, those napkins. And in here, this lifts up. This is an original cabinet card, and this has still got its cover over it. Again, could be a little boy, because back in the early Victorian times, the little boys wore dresses. They weren't put into the trousers until of an age, but I just thought that that was in such beautiful condition, especially as it's had the tissue over the top of it, and that is just in one of these little pockets here, which I think is a Tim Holtz. So again, vintage ledger. I love the writing in these vintage ledgers. This flips open, and in here we've got some ephemera from Edinburgh 1909 from a solicitor's, I do believe it is, yeah. Beautiful copper plate writing. More of the vellum, and here we've got a snippet roll. See, I remembered this time, and a little piece coming down there, and under there we've got a little tiny piece of it looks like copper plate ephemera. It's actually 4 ephemera that I made myself, and that is it, just tucked under there. Lovely water babies pictures again. This the bottom of this page is beaded. This is from some sari trim. In fact, I forgot to show you here that the bottom of, how did I forget to show you? That page is beaded as well. So the bottom of this page, if you look at the journal from the bottom, it's quite beautiful actually, with these beads dangling down there. It's a very embellished journal. A lot of work, a lot of antique and vintage papers, Mudlarking finds. This little tag is made. Underneath there is a vintage, could even be an antique tray cloth. These are sari silks that I've hand dyed, so a lot of hand dyeing you can appreciate with all these silks. This is freshwater pearl oyster button. So here we've got, do you know, I thought that was my dad there then, it just looked like my dad. Some more hand dyed sari silk. This isn't vintage jewellery, but it looks really nice, don't you think? The colours, it's like on a sticky strip, so I've put that onto there. In here, so we've tied this off with some of the vintage silk that's covering the book. I don't tend to cut me dangly bits off. You can cut them off yourself if you want to. So in here we've got another of those gorgeous tags and here we've got this gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous shell. It's gilded. I bought that in Florida, and I bought it so that to remind me to make some of those of my own, because I just thought it was so pretty. In here, where I thought was my dad, I'm thinking, what's my dad doing in there? It's an altered envelope, and this is an original. Yeah, this is an original, and that is a little boy, and he's had his picture took by a fishing boat, so he looks like a fisherman. So I thought that went brilliant with the water babies. So that's in there. So there's what, 3-4 cabinet cards. So as you can see, there is a lot of ephemera coming with this journal. I'm putting things back in as I go along, so I remember where they go. That comes out of the top. On this side here, we have got another from the water babies, and can you see like this? It looks like, to me, it looks like it's been water painted, and then there's others like water dripped onto it. That's the effect so that I've tried to achieve through the book. It reminded me of the advert so on TV. I think this is another. Oh, there's a pocket on the back of this one. Do you know, there could be pockets on the backs of the others. This is made from Edith Holden. We've got a couple of Tim Holtz pieces of ephemera there. And again, this is a little notebook, matchbook notebook. Enjoyed making those. I'd never made them before. Really enjoyed making them. There's a video on how I did those. This is gessoed picture. More space to write. Journaling space. Some vintage music score. Again, this is a doily. Not a doily, a napkin. This is some of the vintage or antique tray cloth. A vellum. This is some antique paper. And that opens up, and yet another cabinet card. So this is Mum, Dad and child. George and Isabella with young Frank. You see young Frank's got a dress on. He's got a penny and a dress. So yes, I don't know if they did that in other countries. Or did they do it in the States? I know they definitely did it here. Put the boys in dresses. Another little card here made out in a little money envelope, and again it is a clocking in card, and that just goes into there. I'm saying it's got a www dot, so it can't be vintage, but actually it can, because I remember when we moved to this house 30 years ago we had the internet, so yeah, so it could be vintage. Again, the ledger on here, more napkin, another altered playing card. This time we've got a little girl from another altered playing card, and a couple of the Tim Holtz. That one says 1896. So it's quite easy to tell which is authentic ephemera. The authentic ephemera is local to my part of the northwest of England, to Lancashire, Lancashire, Manchester, so you can tell which ones they are. Here we have got a large envelope. Oh, this unties like this, and in here we've got this is some ephemera that I made, so it's not original, but I think I did a pretty good job of that. I love making ephemera. And that's in some Edith Holden. It's got flowers on, vintage buttons and napkins, some Tim Holtz, a library card on the back, which is modern, with a couple of tags in there. So much space to journal in. This, how did I have this? Oh, that comes around the front and ties there. The original ephemera isn't really inked either. The ones that are inked are the Tim Holtz ephemera and any that I've made to look old. If it's original ephemera, it won't be inked at all. So what have we got here? We have got that picture shouldn't be in there. We've got the Bonnie Banks of Loch Lomond vintage sheet music. And here we've got a little booklet again with vintage papers in. See what I mean? These are not edged because they are vintage themselves. And to me, they don't need that edging. Whereas this isn't vintage. So therefore, I've gone around it with the inker. That's what I was trying to say before. In fact, you know, I do believe that goes in there. Did this go in there? No. Oh, I know where it went. It went on there. Yes, it did. Goes in there. Some more hand-dyed papers, vellum. These are some more faux envelopes. And in here we have got a couple of vintage. Now I haven't inked those, but they look like they've been inked, but they've probably been handled by that many children back in the 60s. A couple of flashcards. These are inked, these 4 envelopes. And then here is a vintage, is it bridge, playing bridge score. In here we've got a little collaged journaling card, another flashcard, and a coffee dyed card, journaling card. I think we're getting near to the end now. Here's some of the original papers again, with some collaging on there. This is original. Oh, I think all the lace is original. Again, the pictures from the magazine. Here we open up and we've got another time card, inked. We've got a little altered card there and an altered plain card here with some, that's from Tim Holtz. It looks brilliant, doesn't it? You might be mistaken for thinking that is authentic, but I have inked that in blue. And then we've got again the little playing card, so we've run the theme through, and another little Tim Holtz, and again the little shell on the end there. That just tucks into there. Some more vintage scrapbooking material. A little pocket here with another little tiny playing card in there. We've got some vellum, more dyed paper. Here we have got an original postcard again. Dear Mother, arrived home safely. That's from January 1925. All the rusted pins, I tend to put a little tie on, not pins, paper clips. Got another 4 pocket. I'm just checking these envelopes because I'm sure one of them actually opens. I can't remember which one. So we've got another little journaling card in there on top of this lovely picture. Here we've got a tip-in. I do love these. I love that art. Can you see the sea life embossing? I do love those. So the little money wallets that I made, and I made the cards as well there. Vellum, vintage paper, vintage drawing paper. This is paper with another cabinet card in. Birkenhead, that's Liverpool. This is a little boy, he's got his pants on. I'm sure he's the same little boy as in the other ones. So this is in Conway Street, Birkenhead and Carnarvon in Wales. And that's a vintage envelope, it's just tucked in. Now here, that is a cabinet card. Hang on, let's have a see. So we've got some currency here from different denominations from around the world that I like. The colours I thought went nice. And we've got the cabinet card on there. Here, a couple of postcards. There's a little girl there. And then we've got this 4 ephemera there that I've put this little piece of collage on. More dangles. There's loads of journal jewellery, all made out of vintage beads. I think that is a Victorian bead, if my memory serves me right. In here, so we've got some journal jewellery there, this little blue heart. And in here we have a, this is a book. So it's another little, it's not a book, it's like a little folder with full of ephemera. So there's ephemera in there. That's an authentic calling card. Again, the artist trading card. Lots of collage. A vintage Suffolk puff. Yo-yo. Safety pin. Inside, we've got more. This is insurance for the shipwrecked fishermen and mariners, Royal Benevolent Society. Another little notebook. They just fit into that pocket. And on this side, we have got a warming up in front of the fire, waiting for they've either been, if the water babies, they fell out of the boat into the sea. The best coffee on earth from Chicago, that is an authentic advertising card. Again, collaged on the back. Inside this lovely ledger paper. Let's just pop that back on there. We have got in here, I love that fish. We've got another letter with an authentic letter, an envelope with an authentic letter inside. And so that is supposed to look like a hidden pocket because it's the fish that carries on round, and we've got the water baby there falling off the fish. That goes into there, and in the here, does that go there? Oh, it goes up there. Another of the calling cards. Not calling cards, ATC cards. More artist paper. We've got a Seaboard tickets, the Montgomery line. These are some modern ephemera in the style of vintage ephemera from my own collection. We have got another collaged little tip in there. Here is a, I don't know. It looks like a copy of a cheque from 1946. I don't know if I've copied that myself, or I don't think it is a pocket, that. I think it's just a tip in. You can, oh, it is a pocket, look. There we go. Nobody Loves Me. I thought that was really cute. That little girl, it looks, my daughter Olivia, I always used to have her hair like that when she was a little girl. And it's Mr. Owen Larvey of Lurgan, and it just says, Nobody Loves Me. And that's in this pocket made from vintage papers and collage. And then we just come through to the back. This is Tim Holtz. So there we go. Now this is fastened with, so it's this necklace that just goes over the top here like such. Let's just dangle that down. I did have it tied with some sari silk ribbon, but I just thought that that looked rather nice. And there we go. I'll put the link below for you to have a look in my Etsy shop. One of a kind, full of history, absolutely jam-packed with mainly vintage antique ephemera and these amazing hand-dyed pieces, vintage laces, and then these mudlarking finds. Like I say, that one could be, that little piece of pipe there could be 700-800 years old. Amazing. There we go. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again real soon. Please give me a comment. Please click like. Please, more than anything, please subscribe to my channel. I've nearly got 1,100 subscribers now, so I'd love to get there by Monday. And please, especially subscribe, because I've just become a nana. You must do for that. Thank you, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.